morbidly obese and things like that. And they put them on this juice drink for 28 days. And what ended up happening is all of them were off medications and dropped an average of 15 to 30 pounds. And
we're on.
Sorry.
It's all right.
I think Alex's dog wants to talk to me.
Hey, what's the dog's name?
Jerry.
Jerry.
Okay. All right. You guys ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay.
Born ready, Charlie.
All right. Okay. Hi, this is Charlie Zeiss with Stargate Pyramids. It is Monday, June 6, 2020. I hope all of you had a great holiday season and are looking forward. I'm looking forward to this new year of discovery about pyramids, and I'm excited to see where this is all going to take us. Lori and Bill are here with me today, and before we begin, I want to remind everyone we've got classes that are beginning this week. First of all, starting tomorrow night is our introduction to dowsing class that Bill's going to be doing. And Bill, why don't you give everybody a brief introduction? It's not too late to sign up for either of these courses. Go to stargatepyramids.com to sign up. But Bill, why don't you introduce that course to everyone a little bit? Oops, you're muted.
You're muted, Bill.
Yeah, sorry.
There we go.
Lots going on here. So just an introduction to dowsing, about what it is and how we use it. Do we need tools, and if so, what tools are best for you, and sort of what applications you can use dowsing in your everyday life, and how to enhance your life with the skills that we all have.
Okay, and Lori, would you give a brief? Lori's class, a psychic enhancement with Stargate Pyramids, commences on Thursday of this week. So why don't you give a brief introduction to that as well, Lori?
Hi, everyone. Happy New Year. Charlie, I just have to say, your pyramid takes you so far in advance into the future. You're saying June. It is January.
Did I say June?
And what I love about Bill's class is that really dowsing not only helps you understand your life a little bit more, but it enhances that intuition even more. When you start dowsing and you really get the information, you start knowing before the dowsing device even shows you. Isn't that true, Bill?
Well,
so what I do is I absolutely help people how to learn how to tap into their emotions, tap into their own intuition, to meditate, to really get grounded, really learn how to understand mind, body, soul, their words, what they're putting out there to the universe. All you are is just a huge projection. And the other thing is that everything about us, the majority of our body is water. That's emotions, it's feelings. When you tap into those, you get more in tune with yourself. The better in tune you are with yourself, the better you know who you are, the better you know who you are, the better advanced you become, the better, your life becomes. It gets more enhanced each time.
Perfect. So again, for those of you who are still not too late to register, if you have your pyramid, it's going to be a little bit late if you don't. But if you have a pyramid already, go to stargatepyramids.com, click on the shop button, and you'll see a link there to the courses that you can sign up for. So we've got a lot of information to cover today, and I must say it's really gratifying the amount of comments, quality comments that we've been getting, particularly just last week from our previous podcast. We've got really enough information and questions here to almost take up the entire session just with the questions that you all have asked from last week. So we're going to get started right away, and we're going to start by answering your questions. So bear with us while we set up here. and we'll get started. Now, this is not a question that people ask. I'm not trying to build conspiracies here, but I am trying to point out some facts. As you all know, in the last few days, there's been a lot of stirrings going on in the Middle East, particularly with respect to Iran. I was going to bring this up in the next couple of weeks, but I pulled the slides up to the top of the presentation to let you see this. This is the inside of the Iranian Parliament building. And as you can see, there is an awfully interesting looking triangle in the center behind the podium to their Parliament building. And yes, you've got it right. The slant angle on that is 76.36 degrees, well within the margin of error of the protractor. So it's clear that the Iranians know about the geometry of these pyramids, and for some reason have chosen to display that as part of their Parliament building. So I'm going to stop there for a minute and just kind of ask some questions of Lori and Bill, and get a comment, I guess, from Lori first. But I guess the question that I would ask both of you is, do you think that this is intentional and that this is not a mere accident or coincidence?
I absolutely know that they did it purposely.
Yeah.
And there is a spiritual connection to it that they're fully aware of. Okay.
And we're going to get into some of that a little bit later today as well, when we go back and begin to talk about the Tartarian Empire. Something, again, that I was brought to my awareness by one of the viewers. So, and Bill, are you getting anything from this as well? Do you feel that this is a demonstration, an intentional demonstration of their knowledge of this geometry?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. I bring this up only by way of example for those of you who remember back to our original invasion of Iraq. One of the first things that we did, although this was not covered in the mainstream media very well, was to go and take things from the Antiquities Museum in Baghdad. So I just have this sneaking suspicion that this information may have something to do with our invasion. Maybe I'll ask that question to the group. Do you think that their knowledge of this geometry and this information has anything to do with our interest in seemingly pursuing war with the Iranians?
Gosh, Charlie, I didn't put that 2 and 2 together, but I get a yes on that.
Yeah.
I got to know.
You got to know? Okay. Well, got a divergence of opinion, but time will tell. So anyway, we'll move on from that, and we'll start to answer.
Really quickly, Charlie, could you tell me what in your mind were you thinking when you put those 2 and 2 together? Because I did not.
Well, just because we went, one of the first things that we did when we started the Iraq War was to go and, from what I hear, we took many objects from the Iraqi Museum of Antiquities in Baghdad, and some of the alternative reporters, so-called, on the internet, have indicated that there were certain types of ancient knowledge and wisdom, perhaps dealing with energy devices and so forth, that we actually took. There's also at least theories out there that when we did that we the information and the videos that we saw of the Iraqi people in the museum rampaging through it were actually staged. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but that's kind of why I'm asking the question, because there are people out there who have studied that say that we went there at least in part with an intention of getting objects and information from that museum. So that's where I'm coming from.
Yeah, and I do resonate with that. So yes.
Okay.
Charlie, The question was about Iraq.
No, it was about Iran. Oh,
So,
yes, yes. Are we beating the drum towards war with Iran? Does that have anything to do with the fact that they are knowledgeable about this geometry and perhaps the implications of it?
okay,
Okay. Did you get any different answer?
no,
Okay. All right. So difference of opinion, but we'll move on. There may be an explanation for that that we'll find later. Anyway, on to questions that we received over the past week. This one comes from Corey Brown, and he says, or she, I'm not sure, is there an energy difference between PVC versus wooden pyramids? And, I've always assumed that there's not. I have not tested it, so I thought I would throw that out to the group to see if you came up with any answers to that question.
I gotta know.
I got to know as well.
Okay. That's what the research would indicate. I've never tested it myself, but again, in summary, most of or all of the Russian research indicates that anything that's non-base metallic, will function fine. So a non-conductive material like wood or PVC would work. So we seem to be corroborating that research. Moving on, Ho'oponopono girls had two questions. One of these is actually not a question, but it's a testimonial, which I wanted to read for those of you out there. Lori cleared a poltergeist from a house I was in. It ripped a mirror off the wall and tossed it across the house while I was there. This is not hooey. I did not tell the person whose house it was that I called Lori, and my friend called me 2 hours later saying that piece was back in her home, and the banging noise it was making had stopped. This was last year and still no issue. So, Lori, do you remember that experience?
I do. What's interesting to me is that a lot of people don't recognize. I had a gal last night calling that she had the same thing going on in her home, and people always have this idea of what the energy is, and they've got it dead set in their mind what the energy is, and yet it's always something other than what they anticipated. And there is energy out there that will do exactly what this did in that house. And when we talk about something like this, I'll just give you an example. It's more like power of evil vortexes or power of evil portals. We also get demon portals and ghost portals. So when you have portals and vortexes like that, it brings them in and out. And, like the movie Poltergeist, of course, that's a very visceral and very, it was just a very graphic image of things. But in reality, you may not see it. Those things actually do happen in people's homes. The gal last night kept getting scratches. So she would wake up with terrible scratches on her. And there would be no specific reason why there would be scratches. And people have that all the time. And I find it fascinating that some people just pass it off as just, oh, I must have scratched myself last night or something, but
Right.
Yeah. So, and what I noticed, and let me just say the testimonial of the pyramid. So I'm just going to say this because what's going to happen if you have a pyramid in your home, things like that aren't going to happen. What it does is it creates this field, this energy field that does not allow that in your home. And it also creates this frequency and vibration of positive energy that it goes to a length. And we'll talk about that a little bit too. Moving on.
Okay. All right. The second question, this one is a question. What if the pyramids are strategically placed to create some positive and some negative because both polarities are needed for balance overall as a whole planet? Just a question. I'm not sure I totally understand that, but Lori, do you get any thoughts on that?
I tried to, last night I looked this over and I tried to kind of look at that. I think what she's saying is strategically place these somewhere on the earth to maybe make, for example, we've talked about this and discussed it before, like in the desert areas, in places where there aren't much rain or water, and see if that doesn't increase or help the planet in some way. You know, make the energetic aura of the planet better. And I think she's absolutely correct. I think this needs to happen more. I think as we'll get into it a little bit more in the show, this question will be answered better.
Okay. And I might say if we don't answer it to your satisfaction, write some comments in this week's comment section, and we'll be happy to try to respond to it in greater detail next week. Okay, we've got the next are from Michael Phillips. I see Michael's actually online watching today, so welcome, Michael. The first thing, I'm not too familiar with the technique of elongating skulls, but etheric shape energy probably plays a factor. And I think what he's saying there is, were the elongated skulls that we see in hieroglyphs and drawings in antiquities, did that play a factor from what you guys can figure out in their abilities to connect with the universe or with higher knowledge?
Well, with my historic knowledge of how they did, they actually literally made the shape of their head. They would create that. Is that not correct? Or is this?
That's true. Well, certainly some of the civilizations around the world would adopt that. And we think that at least I think some of the thinking is that was done to parrot or mimic the skull shape of so-called deities or extraterrestrials.
Okay, and I actually get that it didn't play a factor. So I don't know what Bill is getting, but I'd love to hear what he has to say.
So what are we asking specifically now?
Does elongating one's skull have an impact on the ability to connect with etheric, as Michael was calling it, etheric shape energy?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So let me try asking it another way. Was the purpose of indigenous cultures elongating their own skulls, was it intended to just to mimic the shape of the skulls of these other beings, either extraterrestrials or deities, however we want to call them, or were they aware that doing so would improve their level of consciousness and connectivity to the universe?
Well, I'm just going to say none of this is resonating. Now, if the elongated skull is of extraterrestrial, did they have a better connection with spirituality and other dimensions? Absolutely. But if the person is trying to create that to be similar to that, it was not creating it according to my guidance and what I understand. Just to clarify that.
Yeah. Okay. Bill, do you have any thoughts on that?
Try not to think too much, Charlie.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a good idea when dousing.
That's true.
Let that ego go.
Okay. Well, moving on to Michael's next comment. He's saying, look into Anatoly Fomenko. And I'll explain who that is in a moment. The world wars were obviously perpetrated and planned, and their plan divulged as early as 1860, as revealed by Albert Pike in his book Morals and Dogma. These events, as well as the great fires throughout America, were to destroy etheric shape energy architectural designs. Now, we got into this, and Michael, you may have been the person who originally started me on this. I can't remember, but after I did a piece 2 weeks ago on the Mormon temples, I did get a comment, and that has got me started on a whole new area of learning and discovery, which is several concepts that are woven together. One is a mud flood, if you're not familiar with that. Essentially what seems to have happened through archaeological digs and so forth is that virtually throughout the world, there's been a rise in the ground level, and people call it a mud flood because the best explanation is that there was a mud that came up out of the earth in some kind of an event. But what it has done has been to bury sometimes just a half a floor, sometimes multiple floors of existing buildings, and potentially including the very Mormon temple that I initially discussed. And what we find when we start to look at some of these pictures is that these buildings have had, because of this change in the ground level, have windows and, in fact, entire floors that are underground, apparently because of this mud flooding event. Now, that ties in seemingly with the existence of an empire, which, again, until 2 weeks ago, I knew nothing about, called the Tartarian Empire. But I've been watching a lot of videos over the holidays. I didn't have a lot of time, but when I had some moments, I'm going to show you some of this in a minute. There are places where you can go and see that there was just a multitude of buildings throughout the United States and the world that have had this architecture of the Stargate Pyramid in their spires, and these have been systematically destroyed, although we've been told that these were all accidental fires. So there's some very, very fascinating information here that I'm going to continue to explore over the next couple of weeks. So thank you, Michael, for that. Michael's also made a comment online that your information, or on the comment section of the podcast, your info on etheric shape energy headwear had me thinking of my own hats. Can you please see if modern baseball caps block or reduce your energy? So I could try to go get a baseball cap and see what you guys find out if you'd like. Let me go get it.
I already get a yes.
Okay, so, let me find out.
Yeah, I get a yes too.
So Bill, what were you going to say earlier that he moved on, and it was about the elongated head? I thought maybe you were going to say something there.
I think I was just confirming what you had felt.
If it was extraterrestrial and not man-made. The only other thing I think of is if they're creating this elongated, is it doing something that the pineal gland has more room or that can get more frequency in? I don't quite understand that.
Or does the elongated skull have a bigger pineal gland?
Well, my baseball cap's outside.
You get a yes on that?
No, I don't get a yes on that. I still get that when they created their elongated skull, it still wasn't any significant thing. Now, do you have a baseball cap, Bill?
Mine's outside in the garage, so I didn't want to go take the time.
I got it.
I was going to say, I've got one too I can grab.
Okay.
I don't wear them, but you wear them.
Well, we'll move on to the next page while he's getting that. But here's some comments from Peter Bagshaw. Said, I would be curious if you placed a large tensor ring from the top down, as in over the pyramid and then perhaps inside at certain heights. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't know if Peter knew this. I used to have a website called tensorring.com, which I have subsequently sold, and we may have the new owner of that on at some point to discuss this in the near future. But what I've done is pulled some tensor rings, a fairly large one from the wall in my bedroom, and I'm going to let Lori and Bill test that as soon as he gets back.
I'm here.
Okay. Well, Bill, I'm going to ask you to douse me just sitting under the pyramid.
$50K.
Okay. And now, Peter, and for those of you in the audience as well, this is actually a fairly unique tensor ring that comes from sacredmeasures.com. It's a unidirectional, most are bidirectional. So I'm not going to let Bill know which side is which until we're done, but I'm going to ask him to test now and see what he gets as my energy. Again, it was 50,000 before.
Now it's 100.
Okay. And now we'll test it again.
200.
Okay, so there is a directional component to this, as you can tell. And so I'm also going to just take, this is a bidirectional smaller tensor ring, and I'll ask Bill to test me with that now as well.
$70.
Okay. And if you don't mind, I'm going to put it up on top of my head and see if that makes a difference.
Not really. Still
Okay.
70.
Okay. Yeah.
And did we try doing it on the outside of the pyramid like he was suggesting?
No. The large one? No.
Well, here, yeah, why don't we do that? I will turn around and I will just stand outside the pyramid and you can test my energy now.
Okay, I got 26K.
All right. Then I'm going to hold this.
$28K.
All right. And this way. Whoops.
30K.
Okay. So it doesn't seem like it's a, it seems like its impact was
Wait, you're going to put it outside the pyramid and sit inside the pyramid.
Put it over the top.
Around the top of the pyramid, Charlie.
Oh.
And then get inside.
You mean like, see if this
That's
is.
okay. Your blonde's showing through today. That's all right.
It's hard to come through the, kind of hard to come through the gray. Yeah.
I get it's 50K.
And then if you turn it on the other side.
All right, let me do that. Okay.
70K.
Do me a favor before you do anything. Stand up now.
Yeah, I was going to suggest that. Now you're up to 100.
Okay.
And it feels like you keep going up. Now it'd be interesting to turn it around again one more time.
And stand up.
Yes, please.
Okay.
$70.
Okay, and then take it off and remain standing. I want to see what the difference is.
Okay.
I get 5 million.
Yeah, it is way better without the ring. I felt that all along. Yeah.
Huh. Okay. All right. Let me ask you guys a question, therefore, because I've made these. Never tested them in conjunction with a pyramid. Does the interaction of a tensor ring and a pyramid have a negative impact on the energetics of the pyramid itself? I guess it does.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it does. Yes.
Is that all right? Let me ask the next question. Is that due to the existence of the copper in the tensor ring?
And I get a yes.
Yeah, I do too.
Okay.
You know what's weird? When you were doing that, I heard some weird sounds in my AirPad or AirPod that I'm not hearing anymore. And it sounded like alien related. I think that's probably inviting something that shouldn't come in by doing that.
Wow. Okay. Now,
Is it the tensor ring itself, or is it the metal?
I feel like it's the metal.
Okay.
So, I mean, you could douse that to see if that's true, and then also douse to see if aliens were coming through, or at least was familiar to him because of it.
Yeah, the aliens were there.
So, this is, I would love to test titanium.
In what respect?
What it would do within the pyramid. No, it doesn't have to be a ring, but I mean, that just took me to, you know, when I've been intuitively connected to things like that, it's always been titanium they're using.
so are you suggesting making the pyramid out of titanium?
No,
Okay.
no, I'd just like to test it, see what kind of, just like the copper. I'm thinking these have an effect, and this is probably something we can do on a Monday. Put gold in here, see what we get. Put copper, put silver. Let's see what different effects it has within the pyramid by just doing that.
I see, just putting pieces of it in.
Yeah, and even doing like salt. I've always known for people out there that want to get rid of negative energy really quickly, just put some salt on your hands and just rub it.
Mhm.
Rub it back and forth, and it releases any negative energy that might be within you. And that's
Right.
just very simple. So, I mean, just things like that, I would like to look at what difference does it have in your pyramid?
Got it. Okay. Let me ask one final question about the tensor rings, because I know from my own experience that they have very positive healing qualities. Do the tensor rings have positive beneficial energies when they are used alone and not in conjunction with a pyramid?
I get a yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I think it depends on what you're using it for. Because my left side of my lower back is doing something. That's usually having to do with money. So does it help water and the water coming out of faucets? Yes.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, at least I think what we've established is that there's probably not a tremendous, in fact, there's a negative effect of combining the tensor ring with the pyramid. And that, again, in summary, does seem to correspond with the other studies we've done with organite pyramid capstones and so forth, that they seem to interfere with the natural workings of the pyramid, and also that all is in, conforms with the Russian research that says the same thing. So we'll look at possibly doing some further information on tensor rings at a later date. But moving on, Peter, this is a comment, I think, perhaps from last week when we were talking about Kim Kardashian, because Peter goes on to say, Kim K is part of those that keep things hidden. So she's probably replenishing her negative energies via her pyramid setup. I guess that's a question.
And I totally resonated when he wrote that. I thought that was brilliant. What he's saying is brilliant. Yeah.
Yes, me too. So, and then finally, Peter, this is something I was not aware of. And Peter, if you could, if you're listening, give us the source for this information, but it's fascinating. Pine trees resonate 3 times more than any other tree. And I bet that has to do with the geometry of the tree. What a surprise.
I resonate with that, but this is one thing I've always known. If ever I feel bad or horrible and I just can't get out of that state or frame of mind when it's just so low, I go and sit underneath a pine tree. I'll meditate underneath the pine tree. It's amazing what it does. Peter's got it going on.
That's right. He does. Michael just wrote in and said, thank you for involving me in this episode. I'm grateful for your work. Much of your information has changed my life in a very positive way. Got to run, but I'll definitely be watching again when I get home. So
thanks, Michael.
All right. Here's another person who wrote in over the last week, and I just wanted to relate this. This is a gentleman named Ronnie Mitchell. I believe he's from California. So thank you so much for your research and craftsmanship. These pyramids are absolutely fantastic. I shared your information to my followers on my business IG page. Hopefully they tap into the power of the pyramids. Can't wait to receive the second one. So thank you very much. And Michael, or Ronnie, excuse me, sent me a picture.
I love this picture. In fact, I connected with him on Instagram. He's got, I don't know if you can tell, but that's a dream catcher right above there.
That's what I thought.
I just love this photograph. And if you can get the okay, I would definitely use this in your marketing because it's a beautiful picture. He's beautiful. What a beautiful photo.
Yes, Charlie, is this one of your pyramids?
It is, yes, yes. Oh. He purchased that from me recently. So
hey, Bill, you want to test his energy while he's in there?
Well, I guess we can try that.
I love how just the lighting, everything. This is such a beautiful picture.
Ronnie's up to 5 million with that picture.
And I will tell you what, he's done this in a previous life. And I feel like it's more with, and I'll forget the name. Is it the Nibiru or the
planet?
No, excuse me.
Nubian?
That's why the pyramids that we were seeing in Africa, I think it was.
Nubians.
Yes, thank you. The Nubians. Yes, I feel like he is very familiar with that in a previous life.
Yeah. It may be a little hard to see, but that's his dog, I believe, sitting down below.
Yes.
It's
And
not just a red blanket.
This is what's so funny. I have my pyramid just sitting in a corner in a house. Tristan will come sit underneath it and just be in it all the time. It's just so funny to watch him, and he's 4. So he obviously is very aware of what the energy does.
And Tristan's your
grandson.
Yeah, just letting the watchers, the viewers know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Charlie, maybe we should do an episode with testing dream catchers.
That's a great idea. I have one on my window in my bedroom. We could certainly do that. Yeah. So before we continue on, I'll pick up on a few of the live comments here. Hakan from Istanbul writes, some people are putting Kesh's GANs on the pyramids like you put the tensor rings. What can you say about that? I don't know
what that is either.
GANs is a type of, for lack of a better term, I'm not fully familiar with it, but I think it's like Ormus, that they're monoatomic gold that they're generating through a process of that's kind of involved and, uses some acids and so forth. But maybe we could get Hakan to, as he's so nice to do, and we'll be talking about Hakan here again in a moment, send us some more information about that for next week's episode. Now, a new person has just written in his T-Light. His question is, if you have tensor rings in your home and a pyramid, this doesn't become a negative thing unless you take the tensor ring inside the pyramid. Is that correct? And I think the answer to that is yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have tensor rings in my house.
Yeah. So I do as well.
Oh, okay. So he's not saying outside the pyramid or inside the pyramid, meaning I thought you meant if you put it on the outside of the pyramid and the inside of the pyramid. So
no, he's saying it doesn't.
Tensor rings, somewhere else in your house is not going to affect the energy of your pyramid. That's correct.
Okay. Okay. Cool. All right. Now, this is a fairly long, but this is some fascinating research that I'm going to be reading here over the next, these 4 pages. This gentleman at the moment wants to stay anonymous, but I'm in touch with him. He's still doing research, and I can tell that he is very, very diligent when you get through this, but he's been doing some amazing research with pyramids. So we'll start, I'll just start reading now. He said, I've been following your work since last year. Special thanks on clearing up all the confusion around the slant angles with the Stargate Pyramid. So at that point, I decided to dive into this subject in earnest. Last winter, I built a few small pyramids using the 76.345 degree slant angle. One was 12 inches tall, the other 6 inches tall, made from corrugated plastic and taped together. Crude but effective, as you will see. I assembled the 6-inch one first and put it in my greenhouse out of the weather. I was interested in how water was affected and how far the energies flowed out from this pyramid shape. Another question is, what is the relationship of the strength of the torsion energy field produced to the size of the pyramid? In other words, is the strength or size of the field increase on a linear basis or an exponential curve? I am feeling it's exponential. And this is a question I'm going to want to talk to you guys about after we finish. There are many more questions than answers. I see this whole subject, like you, Lori and Bill, as a lost and forgotten technology. I began by placing heavy-duty glass containers with lids that held 12 ounces to 16 ounces of distilled water at various distances and directions from the pyramid when temperatures were negative 12 degrees centigrade or lower. I added a few drops of food coloring to the distilled water to see what the ice formations would look like. I started at 2 feet out to a 250-foot range minimum. Ice formations were still well defined. These formations were amazing. The food dye was drawn to the center, and out from the center there were cosmic whiskers, pictures to follow. Now, I haven't received those yet, but I can't wait to have this person on to discuss this. In my opinion, this proves that these pyramids do indeed create a torsion energy field that allows upward and outward in all directions. I suspect, but can't say for sure, that this field moves upward at least as far as it does outward. How does this torsion field interact with the Earth? I intuitively feel that this chi energy is drawn into the base of these pyramids. I repeated this process with the 12-inch pyramid, producing similar formations out to 750 degrees plus. This caught me by surprise. It was at this point where I ran out of cold weather. Overall, I did about 24 experiments. All of them produced this very unique ice formation with the food dye drawn into the center of the formation. This indicates a twisting in the energy field. Often there was a bubble of unfrozen water at the core, despite temperatures going well below freezing. That's really interesting. And that corresponds to some of the Russian research. This also indicates the presence of an energy, in my opinion, and has not been noted by other researchers. It is important to note that this energy field is not line of sight like radio waves. This fact I proved many times during these experiments. I made detailed records of all of this, recording dates, temperatures, description of the ice formations, etc. I should mention that I disassembled both pyramids and continued to place water containers outside to see if the energies would continue to be measurable. We had 2 feet of snow at the time. The ice formations did continue for about 3 days before dissipating. Unfortunately, I was not able to repeat this experiment. As you know, the other source for this life force energy is what is called organite. I will go in depth on that subject later. When testing small shungite pyramids last winter using water, as mentioned above, the same formations were formed up to approximately 25 feet away. There were plenty of examples of these ice formations produced by organite on YouTube, as you probably know. Beginning May 19, 2019, I put the 6 and 12-inch pyramids in amongst my 90 sweet potato plants that I was growing in my greenhouse. At harvest time in early October, I noticed the sweet potato veins were thicker in diameter and twice as long as 14 feet, approximately, with larger leaves than normal. The crop yield was about 10% greater, or 2 pounds per plant, than previous years. There were larger quantities of higher quality tubers at 1+ pounds as well. One plant actually produced 7 pounds. Can't imagine what happened there. I can say with certainty that I have never seen anything like this in the 12 years that I've been growing sweet potatoes. I did nothing different to account for these changes other than the use of the pyramids. I also noticed that nearby fruit trees had better yields than other years. These results are also very exciting and coincide with other research, including your own. I do realize that 1 year of experimentation does not prove anything. Therefore, this coming season, 2020, the experiments will continue. I'm currently building some 16-inch tall pyramids out of 5/8-inch plywood using only glue. I do not use nails, as the metal may affect the energy field, as you know. I will be giving these pyramids to some friends to place in their gardens this coming season. Before painting them on the inside, I added about 2 teaspoons of shungite powder per 4 ounces of paint for a little extra boost. Shungite is helping restore bee colonies, according to some reports. More information to follow. Best regards. This is just amazing information to see somebody who is truly committed to testing out some of these theories. And so I can't wait to get back in touch. And when this person is ready, he's willing to come online and talk to us and show us his photos. But I wanted to get both of your thoughts on this. And the first question that came on the first page is the energy strength or size of the energy field. Does it increase on a linear or an exponential basis?
I feel like it's exponential.
Okay. Bill, can you douse for that?
Yeah, it's exponential.
Okay. That's what I figured you were going to get. I felt the same way myself. So,
Charlie, this is brilliant. We've talked about this when we started this whole thing of how to get these pyramids out to other things, agriculture included. And I think this guy has done a phenomenal job. I love what he's done. To see the results is just powerful.
Yes. Yes. And I cannot wait to get the photos and have a chance to bring him on to answer questions from the audience. But
well, and just to go one step deeper, because we've heard about this during the Second World War. They tried to grow plants really fast, and it's called what was it called? The Green Revolution, evolution, or something like that, where all the nutrients were out of the plants and there were no nutrients.
Right.
And the thing that I feel is that there's now the nutrients that are needed and necessary for us And just think, if it's doing that to a plant, what's it doing to your human DNA while in here?
Right. Right.
So I just think that's simple and powerful.
All right. So I'm looking forward again to having this individual on as soon as they're ready to come on, and we will be respecting their desire for anonymity. So when he comes on, I think, or she we'll just be having them on via phone. But no matter. Thank you so much for that information. And I wanted to share that with the world, because this is, again, just the beginning of experimentation that needs to be done in a truly scientific fashion like he's doing, he or she. Okay. Now we're going to move on to some information from, I believe this is from, yes, this is from Hakan again. He's wishing us Happy New Year. Hope your viewers increase. He said, I talked about the spires of the Mormon temple, that there's a pine cone at the top of a golden ratio pyramid and so forth. The pine cone at the top, according to Hassan, radiates that etheric energy. This is also like how our orgone bubble works. Beside that, I think this pine cone shape is somewhat special, and they weren't just built for decoration. I would agree with that, because we have the same pine cone-like shaped gland in our brain. And also we have pyramidal neurons. Harold Kautz-Vella said that when we balance left and right brain, it generates scalar waves, aka orgone etheric energy. I think this energy is radiated through our third eye, which looks like a pine cone. Mormon temple spire designs consisting of pyramids and pine cone, interestingly similar to our brains. In the future, I want to make some devices using cones, pine cones, orgone generators, plasterites, charging with Tesla coils, and test them inside a pyramid or alone outside, just like you tested the capstones. He said further, I like and watch the Global Vision YouTube channel about Tartaria. We were talking about that just a few minutes ago. So what I've done, this is a website. This is one of many, but this is a place to start. It's called Global Vision. It's the name of the YouTube page. And as you'll see here as an example, there's a slideshow apparently of illumination before, as we were discussing earlier, the mud flood. And as you can see, there's apparently lighting there's obviously some sort of electric or illumination system that was in these Tartarian structures. So this is just one example of videos that are going to really open your mind to the possibility that this technology, as well as the history of the Tartarian Empire, is all linked together with this geometry and has been suppressed over the years. So he wanted to ask, go back, you can check out Global Vision on your own, and also just if you're interested in this topic, go to YouTube and just put into your query Tartarian architecture, and you're going to find just a ton of videos to explore, as I'm beginning to do as well. So his two questions, a goblet found in the Tunguska event area in Russia, which is made of a material that is made out of this world, meaning literally from a meteorite. If you put water in the goblet, it creates numerous elements in the water, nearly half of the periodic table. We know that pyramids structure water. I want to ask you, do the pyramids also create element in the water? I mean, if we put distilled water in our pyramids, do elements appear in the pure water after a while? Now, I don't have any thoughts on that. I do know that Slim Sperling, when he would do this, he would take tensor rings, for example, and he would end up with elements such as monoatomic gold out of regular water. But I'll throw that question out to see if anyone's got any ideas. Otherwise, I think we're going to, Hakan, have to test this.
Yeah, I get a yes. I get a yes. I didn't know if I had my mic muted or not, but I do get a yes on that. So that's interesting.
Bill, can you douse for that? Can you get elements from water, from distilled water?
Yes.
Okay, so Hakan, at least we're getting a unanimity of opinion here on that. So it's probably something that would be worth further discovery and exploration. His second question, Adronis, channeled by Brad Johnson, said that if it's synthesized properly, gold can make a person literally immortal. That's why the Anunnaki came to our world to harvest the life force of Earth embedded in gold to be immortal. But a Native American shaman, White Owl, said that actually monoatomic gold is a, quote, trap designed by reptilians. It's a desperate disguised attempt for transcendence on an artificial level. What can you say about it? Is monoatomic gold beneficial to us? Do you recommend us to consume it?
Bill, you want to take that first?
I'm just trying to focus on the question that I want to ask.
Okay.
Okay, so last week off camera, we talked about there is something out there that is, how did he word it? That life is continual. It is immortal. That's the word he used. So we did talk about that last week off camera. And actually, I think I had a conversation with Bill, and to think that you would never die, I kind of have a panic feeling about that. I don't know what that is. You know, we talk about cockroaches never dying. That's kind of like, that would be the energy I feel eventually. And we've not found that the Anunnaki have been all that positive on our Earth. So, and is it for the life force embedded in gold to be immortal? I don't get that. The shaman White Owl saying that it's trap designed by reptilians, I don't feel that either.
Okay. Bill, any thoughts on that?
Well, I get a yes if by consuming monatomic gold, and it's beneficial.
You get a yes to which question? Do you
monatomic gold?
He's saying it's beneficial to take it.
It's beneficial. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Not that you can become immortal.
That's a different question.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
So my understanding was the Anunnaki came to our planet to mine the gold to restore their atmosphere, not to become immortal.
That's my understanding as well. Yeah. So, all right. Before we move on, I see Laura London's on, and I'm just mentioning that because Laura is the person. She interviewed me on Richard Hoagland's show earlier in the year, but she actually she and I met about a year and a half ago at the Global Pyramid Conference, and I was still so new to this, I didn't have an answer to her very, very good, honest question, which was, how come your pyramids are so much more energetic than those expensive Giza pyramids down the aisle? And I didn't have an answer other than to say, oh, well, the research indicates it. But that's what got me started on this quest. And Laura, I thank you for asking the question, because it's what got me started. So,
me too.
Yes. Hakan asks another question. How many days should the water stay under the pyramid?
For like the most benefits? Is that what he's asking for?
I assume so, yes.
I get 3 days.
Yeah.
Okay.
3 or 4 for me.
All right. So I don't know that there's an optimum answer or an exact answer because it's going to depend on the amount of water, probably the size of the pyramid and so forth. But try for 3 to 4 days, and that's probably close to optimal. Well, moving on to the next comment, Jesse Burster, excuse me, said, this is referring to these Kozyrev mirrors that we started to discuss last week. It is silo-like Kozyrev mirrors. It has an open top, just a sheet of aluminum on the sides with a small section to slip inside. No aluminum on the bottom, and it's open at the top. David Wilcock also said you can't use this device if you live near a nuclear energy plant. If you remember, this is the discussion we had last week. I think Hakan brought this up because it was brought up in the context of having an aluminum foil wrap on a cone, and we weren't getting positive results from that. So we were going to continue to do some work. So I did pull up a couple of images to show people what a Kozyrev mirror, would really look like. I was trying to describe it last week, but you see two examples. Here's one, just a kind of an aluminum sphere on the ground. The one on the right here, as you can see, was what I had seen before. There's a slight opening in the side, but you have this polished aluminum in a silo type arrangement. And here's another example of one as well. So you can see there's an entranceway into this. So that's the way those things are going to work. So I guess seeing those now, Lori and Bill, do you get any further thoughts on this Kozyrev mirror and its effectiveness?
I don't get anything at all. I was looking at this yesterday and I was trying to think of many different ways I could ask the questions and try to understand what this is truly doing. I would love to know if anyone had a successful journey while doing this. That's part of a Fibonacci spiral, right? It's kind of like that. But I don't get anything energetic when I look at this. Okay.
And Bill, do you get anything? Is this an interdimensional portal or?
No. Okay.
Well, it's interesting. Neither one is picking up anything positive. So if there's anyone out there, though, we're open-minded, and we
right.
Nothing that we say is an ultimate truth, and no one should take it as such. But if anyone has had experience with the Kozyrev mirror session or know of someone who has, please get in touch with us or leave your name in the comments section, and we'll be happy to explore this concept in greater detail. Now, this is from Scott Borders. Scott is a customer of mine, and he's referring to the negative green. He says horizontal negative green is a beneficial carrier wave within the trinity of BG3, which includes horizontal negative green, higher harmonic of ultraviolet and violet, and higher harmonic of gold. These pyramids do produce negative green, which again is beneficial. Horizontal is beneficial, vertical is harmful, according to biogeometry. Well, I just, when he wrote back, I called Scott last week, and either Scott or his partner have agreed to come on and explain to us the basics of biogeometry and the pyramidal energy fields, according to their understanding through biogeometry. So I'm looking forward to hearing back from Scott as to when we can have that discussion in greater detail. To finish up today, we've been talking and didn't get around to it last week of doing a little bit further discussion on the role of intention in the energy fields produced by a pyramid. And so I wanted to finish up today with a review of some of the objects that we had looked at before. And just to review, we're going to be looking at party hats and some wizard hats from a variety of different sources. So that's what we're going to do today, and then we'll kind of close with that. I'm sure that Lori and Bill are going to get positive energy from the party hat here. We've tested that before. But as for those of you who did not see this before, Lori and Bill tested the energy of this photograph, which is coming from the Wicked Witch. It's of the Wicked Witch of the West from the Wizard of Oz classic movie from the 30s or 40s. So this has the exact geometry of the previous hat of 76.35345 degrees, but it came out negative. And for those of you who didn't see this before, when we moved the face out of the photo and tested just the hat itself, it once again became positive. So I don't know that we need to do that again, but I guess Lori and Bill, if you would test the energy of this hat just briefly, so we'll have a basis of comparison, that would probably be helpful.
So we're testing the energy?
Yeah, testing the energy and if it's positive or negative.
Oh, okay.
Well, for me, looking at the photo and the hat, it's a negative energy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same.
Okay. Now we're going to look at two other witch hats. These are two other series. One is, this is Elizabeth Montgomery in her starring role on Bewitched, which was a TV series from, I think, the 1970s. And then more recent vintage was Melissa Joan Hart, seen here in Sabrina the Teenage Witch, both wearing the same geometry hat. But the interesting part here, and I'll be interested to see the response, both of these two characters or roles were of so-called good witches. And so I wanted to see if the intention of them being good witches changes the energy in those photos.
Well, so that's what I feel with Elizabeth here. It's very positive. And if you go to the one with
Melissa Joan Hart?
Melissa, it's also positive. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
I get the same.
And do you think that has to do with the intention of there being good witches or depicting positive characters?
I absolutely do. Yes.
Okay. So basically, I mean, I think what we're demonstrating here is that in the absence of human, I guess we should go back and test this hat alone as well, if you would, so we can develop a thesis here. Is that a positive energy, that party hat?
I get a yes.
I get a yes on that as well.
Okay. So the geometry itself is positive, but the energy that is projected from the hat seems to be a function of the consciousness of either the individual or the character, in this case, that they're portraying in their role, wearing
right.
that.
And we learned that the one from Wizard of Oz, the intention was to be wicked and evil.
That's right.
Not that herself was negative. It's just the intention behind it, and it worked. It really did put that negative energy out there.
Okay. And clearly for those of us who have seen Bewitched and Sabrina the Teenage Witch, both of these were positive situations and were intended to be kind of positive role models for the people watching. So I think it's fascinating that can change. Now, as a final part to this, I put on the dunce cap, and I'm interested for you all to see if by putting the word dunce on the cap, whether that has an impact on the energy that you're getting from that picture.
Actually, I don't get a positive or negative on this one.
Bill, what are you getting?
I'm sorry, I was having internet problems, so I missed the last 2 minutes.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, Bill, what we did, we went back and we kind of developed a thesis that, these hats, although the energy is positive, to step back, the party hat is positive on its own. This picture is negative, but these two are positive. So it seems as though the geometry itself can produce positive energy, but that energy can be magnified or changed from positive to negative due to the intention of the wearer, or in this case, the intention of the producers of the character, that is being portrayed. So the last question was, this dunce cap, again, is the same geometry as the party hat before. The party hat tested positive, so we were checking to see if the dunce cap, because it has perhaps the words dunce on it, which has a negative connotation, whether the energy of that is different than the party hat.
No. I get it now.
You're getting the same energy?
Yes.
Okay. And Laurie, what about you?
I got the energy was neutral. There was no positive or negative energy.
Okay. We may need to come back and review this one then, because it seems like, well, let me ask it this way. If it's, Bill, can you test the energy of this hat, the party hat, and then
like the level is what you're saying?
Yeah, the level okay. of the energy in the party hat.
Okay, now go to the dunce cap.
Okay.
Yeah, they're the same level.
Same level. Okay. Yeah. And they're both positive energies, correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay, well, I think I've got a few more questions and then we'll close it up for today. Let's see. Laura says, thanks for the shout out. Love you guys in the pyramid. So that's great. Hakan's asking, how many days should the distilled water stay under the pyramid to create elements?
That's a good question.
9.
9 days? Okay.
I get 11.
Okay. Well, so somewhere around 10 days, it sounds like. So maybe someone would want to experiment with that and see if they can get any positive results. We are doing some experimentation on our own. The three of us, we were working on some intention experiments, which we're not ready to come forward with. But if any of you have other experiments that you'd like us to try, or things that you have done on your own, please feel free to contact us. We'd love to have you come on and talk to us about your results, or certainly to try to respond to your questions. So I think it's probably about time to wrap up for this week. I thank all of you once again for watching. And once again, a reminder, our classes begin on dowsing tomorrow, and our our psychic enhancement class begins on Thursday of this week. All of them, I believe we said 7:30 Eastern time. What's that? 7 o'clock Eastern time.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
7 o'clock my time. 9 o'clock your time.
9 o'clock. That's right. Okay. 7 o'clock Mountain time. 9 o'clock Eastern. So I guess we can start with some closing comments. Bill, you want to say something more about your class and sum up for today?
Going back to that question about how many days it takes to create elements, probably has more to do with the position inside the pyramid. So the higher you can place the water, probably the shorter amount of time.
Excellent point. Yep.
Other than that, I hope to see whoever shows up in the class. It's going to be my first time, so I'll be a little nervous, but it should go fine, and we'll learn a lot. And the most important thing is we're going to have lots of fun. So, see you.
And Lori, closing comments?
Just that I am just so grateful for this weekly live broadcast we do, because we have found out so much information. Like, we talk about the lost technology of this pyramid, and I know we're going to discover more and more, and I'm just so excited about it. So thank you again. Sure.
Well, thank you. And as always, we thank you for listening. Tell your friends about Stargate Pyramids, about our classes, and about our podcast. Again, we do this every Monday at noontime Eastern. We're going to begin to have some really outstanding guests on in the coming weeks, as well as being able to answer the questions that you all have posed to us, and we'll continue to do so in the future. So we look forward to seeing you again next Monday at our regular time for our podcast. And I can't wait to meet those of you who are attending our classes for dowsing and psychic enhancement over the next few days. I thank you for watching, and you have a great day.